Ooh, look who got out of bed and brushed their hair, you know? Me. I totally did that. Yes. It's funny because it's like mad white back there and I'm wearing a gray shirt. I'm pale as fuck. My hair has gone pale. I just have this like full ghostly look to me. Anyway, have you guys met my child, Spike? If you follow my Instagram, I made him like some time ago. It's got a little damage on the eyes, but I could always repaint that. Anyway, speaking of babies, I'm gonna talk to you about, The Room. No, 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 no. Not the fun Tommy Wiseau room. My light keeps flickering. Why are you being weird? Talking about this year's The Room. No, not the what's the room of this year. Anyway, I'll stop. So there's a movie that's out called The Room. It's on Shudder right now, and it stars Bond girl from Quantum of Solace, and then some dude. Anyway, so it's about like a house. It's like an old, rundown, like nice big house that obviously was probably bought via foreclosure, you know, because it's like a young couple. Like, why could any of us own homes? Like, it's not gonna happen, you know. So yeah, so it's a young couple who moved in a house and obviously needs like, some fixer upper, whatever they call those houses. Anyway, those things, and they discover within like weird wallpaper, rip up the wallpaper. There's like a door that there's like these weird keys. I'm gonna hold my child with my neck. Weird key prongs. You can open the door, and they find out that like that room grants them wishes. So that's that premise. Um, and I love that the movie skipped, like, when the guy was in there, he's like, oh, I need another bottle, like, like alcohol. Like, I love that they skipped the whole, like, no, no way, no. And it's like, maybe an apple? Like, it was just like, no. It went from, oh, I need another bottle, lights flicker, boom, there's another bottle of whiskey, to suddenly, like, it's this montage of the couple just, oh my god, you're falling out of place. Like, oh, Jesus. The montage of the couple just, like, getting everything, you know? All of a sudden it's just like money, carts of money, expensive jewelry. Like there's one part where like he fucking does like a bukkake shower of fucking diamonds on the girl's face. And you hear like during the montage the girl's like, money, more money. And I'm just like, okay, yes, that's great, but I don't know. I don't know, I'm just like the weirdo where I'd be like, can I get like a sandwich? Like, I don't know. With stuff like that, I'm very skeptical. It would be definitely too good to be true for me. So I would just be like, maybe like a nice, just like a simple, like, maybe like a tuna melt or something. Just something very simple, like some shit like that, Then I'd be like, maybe a dog, like something simple. They're like luxury items. At one point, like they're having dinner and it was like, caviar tonight, like that kind, like shit you not. And they're like, only the best for you. And I'm like, oh my god. And it's like, the girl, so of course, like, oh my god, so the guy's an artist, which I'm just like, I don't know, like, you see, like, the work he does, and it's, like, not bad, but it's not good enough where you're like, how did you afford that home? Again, you can tell it's, like, a foreclosed home that needs, like, they probably paid, like, only, like, I don't know, like, just $8,000 for the house, because it, like, oh, like, they turn on the lights, it's flickering. Funny enough, my little light was flickering. Anyway, and then the girl, she's like a interpreter, translator, and all that stuff. And there's one part, like, in the midst of the montage, like, they're all like, oh, we've made it, we've have all this money, all that stuff. The girl, choice of words, says, oh, I just aborted my translator job. First of all, exposition. Second of all, choice of words. I just aborted. My translator. You could have just said I quit. I just aborted. Like, what kind of Google translate thing was that? I just aborted my. All right, ma'am. I guess you just, and then. After a while, it's obviously, like, they got bored with, all this money and all that stuff. And, oh, funny enough, so, um, again, choice of words. Turns out that the couple has tried multiple times, like to have a kid. They haven't been able to. Um, and with these kind of stories, no one ever thinks about like adoption or anything. There's always stories about the kid who was adopted who's grown up, looking for their parents. But there's never like the young couple who can't have kids who are going to adopt a kid, because that just wouldn't work. Anyway, so they're just like, let's ask The Room. I'm sorry, but after The Room, Tommy Wiseau's The Room has made such a big name for itself. Calling your movie The Room just kind of just like it just doesn't work. Even though this movie makes more sense because it is about a room, and there is the movie Room, which they were smart enough to leave out the, and that does make sense because no, not this one. Anyway, so they decided to ask The Room for a baby, and they got a baby, and they're like, oh my god, I got a baby. Like, I got a baby, all that stuff. And then they have, like, this nursery room, baby room that's, like, already fixed up, because whatever. And it's like, okay, fine, and then one day, and this movie wasn't, like, 95 minutes, a real quick sit, but it's ridiculous. And one day, like, the husband goes out, whatever, he leaves the house, and then he goes to, like, fill up his car, and the guy goes $40, which I'm like, look, the car is like like a regular sized car. I'm like, $40. Like, is it empty and then some? I don't know. I don't know where they are, but I'm like, $40 fucking dollars. Jesus. Anyway, he comes out of the car, goes to reach for his pants, reach for the money, and it's like pocket sand. It's just like, it's just like that. And he's like, what the hell? I don't know. He probably, put the gas on like a cart or something. Anyway, he drives home, and he's just like, huh? Oh, also, like, they besides asking for, whatever, food and expensive clothes and all that shit, the guy, because he's an artist, he's, like, asking for, like, oh, I want this Van Gogh, self-portrait. And then, like, the room manifests it, and it's like, I don't know, like, it makes me think, like, wouldn't that mean that it, like, disappeared from the museum itself? But here's the thing, because the money became pocket sand, he goes back in the house, grabs the Van Gogh, like, fucking self-portrait, and, like, pushes it, like, just puts it in, like, where the threshold, like, of that house, and just, like, pushes over, and it just starts, like, disintegrating, like, half the painting, like, diagonally, and he's just like, oh my god! So then he's just, like, I love how he quickly, like, tells his wife, girlfriend, whatever, like, hey, The Room will grant you anything, but, like, won't immediately tell her, like, hey, don't bring our child outside because our child will disintegrate outside of the house. So instead, he's just like, no, we should keep the child inside. And she's like, what the fuck? Because it's like, we have a plot of land. Like, we don't have really neighbors. If we do, they're like, Anyway, it's so funny how he's just like, oh my god, I could get whiskey and, carts of fucking money and caviar and dresses and stuff, but it's like, we'll abuse that, but won't, like, immediately tell, like, his lady, like, hey, our child that you've always wanted will disintegrate. So there's one part where, like, the girl actually, like, brings the child out, and the baby, like, as, like, she's, like, about 5 to 10 steps outside of the house, is like, and you see the foot, the little booty is, like, turning into dust, and she's like, oh my god! And, she, like, runs back in, and then she runs back in, and, like, you see the little booty is, like, just outside, and then the kid, like, so then she, like, falls in the house, like, oh my god, boom, baby falls, baby falls, and then, like, the child is immediately, like, 7 to 8 years old. Thanks, plot. I guess, why not? But why not be suddenly 7, 8 years old, whatever. So then, again, I love how it's like, we've always wanted a baby, I finally got my baby, oh, I finally got my baby, that kind of stuff. And then, so the kid, 7 to 8, and so she's like, the kid can already speak, because, again, the plot says so, and so she's, like, she realizes, okay, we can't bring the kid outside. The kid will disintegrate. Also, this kid somehow, from jumping outside and coming back in real quick, has grown immediately. So she's trying to teach the kid. She has a little chalkboard. They're like, blah, 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 blah. And then the kid, like, reads it wrong. And she's like, no, no, it's like this. And then the kid reads it wrong again. And, I've always wanted a baby. Instead of, she just immediately just starts freaking out. She's like, no! Ah! And I'm just like, oh, you always wanted a child. And then you forget it's like, a lot of work and all that stuff. Even though it's like a weird, like monkey paw room that you've got. That's what this movie is. It's a room that it's a monkey paw. You know what I mean? Like you make your wish and then the monkey paw, like that kind of stuff. Anyway, so of course the kid's annoying, and then I forgot, like, oh, so I mentioned how like the lights are flickering, and so then an electrician comes in to like, okay, let's fix it, and oh my god, the wiring in that house is so, it's like oh my god, it's like when I went to Thailand, it's just like it looks like, oh, I wish I could show you my drawer here. It has like all like random like wires and cords just all over, and the electrician's like, what the fuck? It's like, how are you able to sell? Okay, I know a lot of these like homes that need to get fixed up, all that stuff, sometimes the electricity, it's not the best, you have to fix it, but how, like that's terrible. Like, did my dad do this? Like, this is just, it's a whole lot. I think there's chewing gum holding things together. It's awful. Anyway, and you kind of realize like it's all the weird electricity and things that like that's probably how the room is powered. Because again, the plot says so. Anyway, I forgot what happened, but really it doesn't matter. Then suddenly, the son is like 14 or 20. I don't know. Like the couple starts getting like upset, and anyway, so there's one part where like the husband is like digging into the wall, sees like more of the crazy wiring like right outside the room, and then he sees like a light and he starts crawling through it, and then he's outside, but it's like the room generated outside because the sun, they said you can't go outside, and so the sun generated like an outdoors where he can. Again, because the plot says so. So he goes outside, and then he's just like, huh? And it's like this weird thing. Then somehow the son was able to like shapeshift to look like the husband, because again, why not? And then like the husband goes up to the wife and is like touching her boobie, and he's like, oh, I've watched you guys do it. And the lady's like, what? And then he goes, come on, mommy. And it was like, I was like, like that kind of shit. And so of course she's freaked out, thank God, because if not, that's how porn usually starts. And so there's this one part where like there's two husbands, and it had like that moment like, don't shoot me, I'm the clone, but one of us has a mustache, or whatever, or it's like it's like, I've always told you I loved you because of this. No, don't shoot me, shoot me. And then she was able to figure out which one was the son and which one's the husband. She knocks the son down, and he falls down a flight of stairs, and then grabs the husband, and then like whirly gag, whatever. Anyway, it turns out they were like in like the room home rather than the actual home. So then they run out of room home through the forest, and then not crawl back, sorry, but then they find their actual home because the door with the hole, and then they go, yeah, this is the movie. And then like more stuff happens. They they somehow like do like a football move, and the son catches up with them and like jumps at them, and then out the front door, and he becomes like a freaking like 85, 75-year-old man, and he's like, Dah! And he's naked because why not? And then he just disintegrates, and then it's like, was it like a year later or whatever shit that usually happens in these movies. They're like in an apartment, and they're like, anyway. Can you imagine working with the lady, and then she just said, I'm gonna abort this job, and they're like, wait, what? You know, like, I don't know if you're able to get a job back by saying you want to abort it, right, Spike? You know, but then, you know, the husband is just like a freelance artist, so he just has to do more art because, like you do, that's how you do it. But yeah, so that was The Room 2020. I don't know. What do you think? It's not good. It's an easy sit, and it's like, if you can, like, I don't know, like, watch it with friends, you know. Shutter doesn't really have like a watch party feature, but I guess if you get it through Prime, whatever. But if you watch it with people, it'll be fun to like poke fun at and like yell at the movie together. But yeah, don't like, unless you're me and you know you're fine with watching terrible movies by yourself and yelling at nothing, then go right ahead. But yeah, that was The Room, and this. And this is the baby from Eraserhead.